Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of now you do what they told you. 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 One to die, I'm justified. Remember the bad, yeah, you're choosing right. You're justified. Those that die, remember the bad, yeah, you're choosing right. Those who die, I'm justified. Remember the bad, yeah, you're choosing right. You're justified. Those who die, remember the bad, yeah, you're choosing right. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of you do what they told you. Now 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 you do what they told you. Justified, remember the bad, take it close and right. You're justified, those that died, remember the bad, take it close and right. Those who died are justified. you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Motherfucker!
In November of 1910, a secret meeting took place of 6 bankers and economic policymakers who represented the financial elite of the Western world. It was hosted at the J.P. Morgan estate on Jekyll Island in Georgia. In attendance was Senator Nelson W. Aldrich, Abram Pyatt Andrew Jr., Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, Frank Vanderlip, President of National City Bank of New York, Henry P. Davidson, Senior Partner of J.P. Morgan & Company, Charles D. Norton, President of First National Bank of New York, Paul Warburg, Director of Wells Fargo, Benjamin Strong, the emissary for J.P. Morgan, and coincidentally, the first President of the Federal Reserve. Years later, Frank Vanderlip referred to this meeting as the actual conception of what eventually became the Federal Reserve System. This meeting was so secret at the time that not even the names of those who attended were mentioned to the servants who lived and worked on the island. The men who attended came on a late-night train, claiming to be on their way to a hunting expedition, but instead, these bankers met with Senator Nelson Aldrich to draft what would eventually become the Federal Reserve Act. This private meeting, attended by some of the most powerful men in America, was strategically designed to take control of our country's money supply and to achieve ultimate power in America. Meyer Amschad Rothschild, one of the most powerful European bankers of his time, stated it best when he said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of the nation, and I care not who makes its laws." On December 23, 1913, 2 days before Christmas, when most people in Congress were home with their families, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson. That single act, however small it may seem, transferred the control of our monetary system from our government into the hands of some of the wealthiest men in our country. Putting into law the Federal Reserve Act gave unlimited power to a few wealthy banking institutions in America. The Fed has the power to issue currency, manipulate interest rates, and run secret bailouts. Yet Congress and the President are not allowed full oversight over this powerful organization. The Federal Reserve enjoys a monopoly over the creation of our nation's money and credit, but for 100 years, they have never been completely transparent and accountable about it. And we don't have to look back too far from today to see what it looks like in real life. When testifying before Congress in 2009, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke refused to disclose which institutions received trillions of dollars in these bailouts and loans, or give our representatives details about what deals were being made.
So my question to you is, will you tell the American people to whom you lent $2.2 trillion of their dollars? Will you tell us who got that money and what the terms are of those agreements?
Hundreds and hundreds of banks, any bank or that has access to the U.S. Federal Reserve's discount.
Will you tell us who they are?
No.
In an interview with Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, he makes the stunning assertion that conducting a full audit of the Federal Reserve, something never before done in its 100-year history, is a line that we don't want to cross. To be denied full transparency of these transactions after U.S. taxpayers contributed over $16 trillion to these bailouts and loans is unthinkable and unconstitutional. It is our right as American citizens to know where our money is being spent. It's very ironic. IRS full transparency.
Only you
But if you're a private organization and you have bankers that control the money supply of the country,
can make this world seem right. is right. Only you and you alone can thrill me knowing you did.
that if we voted against this bill
Fill
on Monday,
my heart
then the
with
sky would fall.
love
The
for
market would drop 2,000 or 3,000 points the first day, another couple thousand the second day. And a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no. That's what I call fear
can
mongering.
make all change in me.
Risk. And when they lost their bets,
Oh,
politicians to use taxpayer money to bail them out, or else we would face a
you
type of
are my destiny. When you hold my hand, I understand the magic that you do. You're my dream come true, my one and only. Destiny. When you hold my hand, I understand the magic that you're my dream come true, my one and only you.
And the final time that he was arrested, he's been in jail now for a week consecutively. What did they over a week? Sorry. What did they even pick him up for? What were the charges that they just picked him up for?
They said it was an outstanding warrant, but he just got out of jail. And to this day, we're not really clear of if they actually picked him up on an outstanding warrant or if it was for a warrant he already turned himself in for.
Right.
For charges that he was supposed to make maybe a first court appearance for. They said there was a complaint that was given. But when they arrested him, he was walking on our side of the river, putting up our prayer ties.
I want to ask you, do you have any evidence that he lit gasoline? Because I didn't hear any evidence exhibited today. Do you have any evidence of that?
Say to you right now.
You have nothing to say? So a gentleman's going to prison or he's on trial, you say lit gasoline, and you say he admitted that, but there's no evidence of that. And you were up there saying that he admitted he lit gasoline. Do you have evidence of that or no?
I said I'm not talking to you right now.
Okay, so water protectors like him, you call them agitators or ringleaders. Is it a crime to protest in America? Is it a crime to be a camp leader? Because it seemed like you were trying to describe him as an agitator or a camp leader. Is that a crime in America? So the ATF's position, if you protest or you're a camp leader, it's a crime. Basically, that gentleman was the ATF officer that just testified against a water protector named Michael Marcus. He put out information without having any evidence. He says that the water protector told him that he poured gasoline on the bridge, and not him, but other people then lit vehicles on fire. The water protector, Michael Marcus, says he did not light gasoline on anything, and he did not tell that officer that he poured gasoline. That's the main reason they're holding him right now, because that officer said, Michael Marcus, they have evidence that he poured gasoline. This is evidence that is concocted out of thin air, just like evidence against Brennan Nastasio, Red Fawn, Mike Fazig, Israel Hernandez. I could go on and on and on. What's happening here in North Dakota is police who are bowed down to by the legal system, the judges. They're allowed to just say people are doing X, not provide evidence, create evidence out of thin air, get away with it, and put Native Americans in prison for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, possibly life. That gentleman that I just confronted who wouldn't talk to me is an ATF officer. He's an officer of the government. We pay for his fucking bill. We pay for his paycheck, and he not only will not talk to us, but he's allowed to concoct evidence out of thin air. Meanwhile, Native Americans been in jail for a week on nothing. On nothing. He also, on the stand, said 32 water protectors. There's been 32 incidents of injuries. I've been to demonstrations that there's been 32 injuries within 15 minutes. This man just said there was 32 injuries over this 7 or 8 month demonstration where police and water protectors have clashed. It's not been a clash because this side has been peaceful. That side's been shooting off grenades, tear gas, and rubber bullets. So that's a lie. He also lied that water protectors have lit vehicles on fire. Again, no evidence has ever been shown that water protectors lit vehicles on fire. You know what they're saying is the evidence? People holding up flares. So if I hold up a flare, that means I lit the camera.
You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed.
We will go our way.
Private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be
Your
on this
hand in
property.
my hand.
Private property. You do not private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested.
Where there's
You're
so
not
much
allowed
space
private property.
and the pace that keeps
You will be arrested. You're not
wrestling just to things, ready to lead to. We are gonna do. Life is peaceful there, there in the open air, where the skies are blue. This is what we're gonna do. Go west, go west, go west. Sun in winter time, we will feel just fine. Where the skies are blue, this is what we're gonna
You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property. You do not leave, you will be arrested. You're not allowed to be on this property. It is private property.